Hello! This is Unexplained Arkansas, and I'm your host, Lisa. And today I have some special guest friends, Ruthie and Eden. They're both besties with Elle, my daughter, but Elle's not going to be on the show. So this just proves that teenagers only like other people's parents. Right? Yes. So say hello, ladies, and let the listeners know anything about you.
Hello. Hello.
Aren't they cute? So Eden just got done with performing the Nutcracker this afternoon. So tell us about it.
It was good. I was a Rockette and the Nutcracker.
Yeah. Yay. Was this your first time to be the Nutcracker?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Because you've done the Nutcracker performance like how many times?
Maybe 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
This is probably like 4th or 5th time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, like, as far as this character, was this like favorite, close favorite? What do you think?
It's like one of my favorites. Yeah.
Because you get to fight, right?
Yeah, I do get to fight.
So that was pretty fun. And Ruthie, you went to watch.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How was it?
It was good. It was cool to watch. I didn't really understand it, but it was cool.
Have you ever been to the Nutcracker?
No.
Oh, really? So this was your first Nutcracker? That's awesome. So will you go again?
Yes.
Yes. Well, good. That's awesome. So, and Elle went with you guys, you know. So I bet that was weird for her, not to be there and not dance.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. But I'm glad she got to go, and I'm sad that we didn't. But so I'm gonna go into this. So quick business. So we do have our live show tickets. Get your tickets directly from me. So just message or email me at unexplainedarkansas@gmail.com. You're good. For tickets. They are $15 a piece. It's February 8th of next year, and we're going to hold the show at the Rialto Theater downtown Searcy, and it's going to be about the White County Courthouse and just some other like history, hauntings, just all of it. So very interesting. Come be a part of the show, and then also find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have our Patreon. You can join our Patreon and get extra content. And then our website is the unexplainedarkansas.squarespace.com. And please leave us a 5 on wherever you listen. So if you're on Spotify or Apple, just go in there and rate us. So that helps us. So this week's episode is number 65. It is the supernatural stories of 10 Mile Bottom. So girls, have you ever heard of 10 Mile Creek?
No.
Have you ever heard of Judsonia, Arkansas?
Yes.
Okay. So have you been to Judsonia?
Yes.
Okay. Ruthie's like, I think.
I don't know.
So you probably have, right? Because it's not too far from us. Okay, so 10 Mile Bottoms, I'm going to tell you a little bit about where this is. So 10 Mile Bottoms is located in White County, Arkansas. Which is the county we live in. That's where we live. We live in Searcy, which is the county seat. So it's said that our county, White County, is huge. Like geographically, it's a large county. It is about like 50 miles north of Little Rock, which is our capital of the state. But we have about 1,100 square miles of White County. That's a lot. So have you ever thought about it? Me and your mom traveled most of it today. So Ruthie's mom, Kim, is here with us, and yeah, me and her, John Creeks. The county houses 8 school districts. So White County has 8 different school districts. We have 16 incorporated cities, but we have 54 unincorporated. What do you think that means? Unincorporated. Incorporated.
Just not included in White County?
Well, so they're all included in White County, but when they talk about like unincorporated, they just mean that they do not have a legal like city council set up. Like they don't have like a mayor or anything like that. So these were areas that maybe were populated, but not populated enough to have like a of their own. So that's what makes them unincorporated. So Kim and me were actually in the Steprock area and the Sunnydale area, which are unincorporated cities. And this is this area that I'm talking about is about 15 to 20 miles north of Searcy in county and, in Arkansas. So kind of give you guys an idea. So 10 Mile Bottoms is stated to be around the last 3 to 4 miles of what's called 10 Mile Creek. Okay? 10 Mile Creek is an actual creek. So it appears to begin kind of in that, do you guys know where Pleasant Plains is?
No.
Okay, so have you been to Batesville?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're driving to Batesville, for you guys in Arkansas, so you're going to go to, like, Pleasant Plains, kind of the halfway point, and so this is where this creek starts. So this creek starts at Pleasant Plains, which is probably about 30 miles north, I would say north of Searcy, and so it kind of winds down all the way until it hits the Little Red River, and the Little Red River is in Searcy. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
It's kind of like, so isn't the Little Red like out by Riverside Park? Isn't that? Okay. So yeah, so that's the river that it's hitting. So this creek just runs into the river, okay? The actual creek, starts there. So the creek, Pleasant Plains, is actually in Independence County, which is right north of our county, White County. So the girls are eating goldfish. I mean, Eden's gotten a workout in, so, and Ruthie's got to go to work, so it's snack time. So anyway, these communities, the 10 Mile Creek is winding through the unincorporated communities of Steprock and Providence, and that's before it's flowing into the Little Red River, which, a side note, so this is a side note little thing about the Little Red. So the Little Red River, it flows from Greer's Ferry, and you guys know where that is, down, which is in Heber Springs, and it flows all the way to the White River. Have you guys ever been? So back in the, Kim's like, yes, you have.
Yeah.
Have you eaten fish at Georgetown, maybe?
She probably doesn't. No, I do not like fish.
You don't like fish?
Fish is nasty.
You don't like fish? Even catfish? No, okay.
I don't like any kind.
Well, back in the day, so there was like a really good catfish place in the But Georgetown is a very old city, and I think okay, so it empties into the river area at the Great Hurricane Lake Wildlife Area. So that's the flow of all the rivers, okay? The Little Red is actually 102 miles long, and it runs kind of the north central Arkansas. It passes through the Ozark Mountains, the Arkansas River Valley, and then the Mississippi Alluvial Plain. The river is extremely popular for fly fishing. Have you guys ever seen anybody fly fishing? Okay, there's a movie in the 90s. A river runs through it. You remember that with Brad Pitt? Mm-hmm. That's what I think of when I think of fly fishing. That's where my mind goes. So, and you guys weren't even a thought yet, so you weren't born. Steprock, remember? So Steprock is that community. This is where me and Kim went this afternoon. So we drove up to Steprock. So Steprock is pretty much nothing but land, and it is very pretty. It is very, very pretty land. It's extremely pretty, and it kind of looks like it sounds. Step rocks. It's rocky. It's steppy. It's step rock. It definitely fits it. So it's very cliffy. So back in the day, Steprock actually had a post office. So it had a post office and it had a general store, and now those things are gone. Okay, so it was basically an area that at one time had a little bit going on, not a whole lot, but it's just kind of not very much. Now people basically live out there, and then they commute for everything else, school, work, whatever. I was talking to a little girl at church this morning, and she killed her first buck out at Steprock. Her family has land out there. So, just saying. She was very excited about it, and she was adorable. Very rural. In the 1800s, we're going back to like the early 1800s, the Osage Indians did live in this area. So they were actually the Indians migrated back and forth between Missouri and Arkansas, okay? And the Osage were kind of nomadic. You know a lot about indigenous peoples? No. So you probably talked about this in history classes, but they would come to Arkansas to hunt. Missouri, you know about the Indians being pushed to certain lands, though, right, by the government. So Missouri pushed, at first, the Indians into Arkansas. So they pushed them into that Arkansas area. So the Osage had land that was given to them by the government or whatever in Arkansas, in that area, the Steprock area. Then they were pushed into, like, by around, I want to say, don't quote me on these people, but the 1800s, 1820s. So they were actually pushed, all of the indigenous peoples in the Osage were pushed into Oklahoma, which is horrible that they were pushed out of their land. But it ended up being that push to Oklahoma actually ended up being really good for the Osage tribe because the land in Oklahoma was developed and it had oil. So they ended up having a lot of money in the long run from that situation. It was helpful to their tribe. Their tribe actually had a lot of money way back when, and I don't know if they still do. But anyway, but they were pushed out of Arkansas. But that's kind of where they were at first, if that makes sense. So you have the indigenous people, early 1800s. Okay, so you really don't have anyone else coming into the area until, you had settlers coming in, people farming and such in the 1800s. Do you know when cars happened?
No.
You guys? No?
I know my dad had one.
Well, how do you think he is, Ruth?
Like 1900s.
That was good. So the first actual cars, yeah, she said the 1900s. So the very first car was brought into Arkansas. It was delivered to a professor in Little Rock. It was like May 4th of 1900, like exactly.
Oh, Dad's birthday.
But not 1900. It's like, May the 4th be with you, and here's your car. So we're talking, in the 1800s, how do you think they traveled?
By foot.
Walking.
Oh, wait, no, wagon.
Bicycles. I don't listen in history.
That is so cute. Walking. They actually did walk a lot. That was, basically that's the best way to get around. But they did use, what do you think? What animals helped them get around?
Camel.
Horses.
In Arkansas.
I'm embarrassed.
Horses, yeah. So they were riding around on horses, and they were... This is awesome. And they were also riding around, like the horses were pulling something.
Was it a wagon?
Yes, they were pulling wagons. So in the 1800s, just think, there's not cars. There's not really going to be what else? What do cars ride around on?
Gas.
Roads. That is so cute, though. Gas.
Did you say wheels?
I love you guys. That is awesome. So basically, they didn't really have a road system. The first roads really were for military purposes. And when we talk road, we're talking a horse trail. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like a road like we think of. So this is where we're getting. This is what we're leading up to. Because they didn't have roads, so the people had to kind of, they're living at Steprock, but they needed to get maybe to like actual Judsonia. They needed to get to a town. They needed to get to some place where they could get goods, whatever they needed to do. So they figured out the best way to travel would be to follow the path that the animals take. So typically you've got animals migrating. And so they noticed that the animals like to focus like close to a creek, but not in the creek, but close to a creek, just because it was just easier to travel that way. So they traveled along this 10-mile creek. So that's the way they would come. So they would typically go out on horse, wagon, walking, whatever, and they would be like, let's just say, we're talking 10 miles on foot. So if you leave in the morning, you're not going to get to civilization until when? Do you think you're going to?
Afternoon or like evening?
Yes, and it's going to be dark. You're good. It's going to be dark. So can you imagine? So you start your day out traveling to town or whatever, and you're going, let's just say you're going along this 10-mile creek, and it gets dark. And how is that going to be in the 18th? I'm imagining it's probably pretty. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah.
You don't have a phone or a car.
Do they have like lights?
Like that they use it that hang.
Like
They probably have a lantern.
The lantern.
They do have like a gas. Yeah, no street lights. No, there's hardly any houses. It's very rural, so there's hardly any homes. And of course, homes aren't having electricity at this time. So yeah, they do have gas lamps. You can imagine maybe that they don't shine like a mag light. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be very dark. Like, I call it dark 30. Like, right now it gets dark at 5 and it feels like it's midnight. But like, it's going to be very dark. So I found these stories, and they're called, so the locals call about the last 3 or 4 miles of this 10-mile creek, they call it the bottoms. So it kind of looks like the bottoms. Like, so we went out there today, and it looked like you would imagine. And I think, from what I'm understanding, is that this area is kind of where the creek is meeting the river. Okay, because we talked about how it winds down meets the river. Okay, so there is some information and some stories of supernatural that have come up over the years in this area, okay? So the White County Heritage recalled the creek was kind of nothing more than a small stream, and it was lined with some jagged cliffs and some dense woods and lots of wild animals. So you can imagine all kinds of animals like coyotes. We're talking, there could have been some bears, some deer definitely, all kinds of wild animals, raccoons. So there were no houses in this rugged valley, and this was only like a rough wagon road. So people have made their way on wagon or whatever. So wagons, 1800s. This is how they had to go to reach town. So the journey would begin, like we talked about, before daylight, but it wouldn't end until after it got dark. So it caused for kind of a spooky journey for these people coming through. So one of these travelers, so some of these people traveling through, they reported seeing eyes peering at them from the tree. Mm-hmm. So can you imagine? Like their faces. So basically they would see apparitions. Do you know what an apparition is?
No.
So basically an apparition is another word for like a ghost or a phantom. So these people were seeing someone or something kind of looking at them through the trees. This is what they were reporting. So when they got to town, they were like, yeah, this was, can you imagine? Like,
where was this?
This is that, so.
Like, was this in Rock?
Yeah, so this was the 10-mile creek bed where they were traveling. So remember, like, let's just say they lived in Steprock and they would
like
travel.
Past Steprock?
Yeah. Oh. Well, they were coming from there, let's say. So yeah, so they were traveling, and then they were seeing these eyes, like horror movie stuff, right? Yes. So it said that as soon as they would appear, it says that I guess they would appear upon the descent into the valley on like one side, but then the ghosts would disappear as the travelers emerged on the other side. I don't know if that makes sense. So they're kind of like appearing, disappearing. I would be running. I don't know.
I would be too.
I'd be like,
Or I'd just pass out.
you would pass out. Poor
I'd be
Ruthie.
drowning you.
Yeah.
Through the creek.
So me and Amber. I think we dragged each other. So another story. So this story was told during the 1800s, kind of into the 1900s. So it was a man who was traveling home late one night, and he said angels appeared to him in the form of 4 little girls. I know. 4 little girl angels. And they came and sat on the 4 corners of his wagon bed. So I guess he had to bed down on the
I thought
wagon.
wagons were little.
Like a wagon. Oh, you're thinking of like a
red
wagon.
Was it like the one?
Like they were wagons that a horse would pull.
Like Little House on the Prairie.
Like the Oregon Trail?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah, like the Oregon Trail. Remember that?
They carried everything they owned in it.
Yeah,
He played
The Oregon Trail?
in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Wow, I
in the
never
square
played.
class.
But yeah, before.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So think of the big wagon pulled by
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
now I understand.
Yes.
I was thinking like the little one.
The little red wagon.
Okay. We had one of those red wagons that you pull. You know, they could sit in and have
We
the
did too.
back thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Do you remember that?
I used to pull my dog around in that. I just didn't like it.
Your dog didn't like it?
No.
So this guy says that he was in his wagon. These 4 little girls came and sat on the 4 corners, and they rode with him all the way through the valley and disappeared when he topped the hill on the other side.
Did they say anything to him? Like,
I would have
It
pushed them all.
doesn't say, but I would
Legs.
think, I mean, an angel is super sweet situation, so that would be nice. But yeah. So Kim asked if they said anything. So I don't know. Do you think if they did talk, that would be really scary?
I would have just gotten off and ran.
You would have gotten off and ran.
I would have like pushed them off.
So I'm imagining little girl angel. Okay, so this is another story, okay? So this was a tale, another man told a tale that he saw a huge dog trotting beside his wagon all the way through the bottom, so all along this creek. He used his whip on one of the dogs, and the whip split it, like went directly through the middle of the dog, but the dog did not make a sound and grew back together immediately.
What the heck?
Whoa.
This guy's fantasizing.
Only to keep, so the dog, it says, kept trotting beside the wagon, and the dog, like the little girls, was said to disappear as soon as the man reached the top of the hill.
I was gonna say that
Does
sounds
it like get unhaunted at the top of the hill?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say that it sounds real, like a dog actually was, but then when you said that the whip cut it in half, that's concerning.
It's concerning. So basically, yeah, because it sounds like it was pretty solid, but then it wasn't. I don't know. I'm imagining like the echo. So that's a creepy story. So imagining that these stories are getting told like immediately upon these guys going to town. Okay, so the sounds, and these are some more stories. So other stories were coming from more men. Okay, so sounds echoing up and down the valley were also heard, and people thought that they were coming from monsters. Okay?
Because they were real people.
Mm-hmm. So when men came to the valley in an ox wagon to camp and hunt, so they went down there to camp and hunt in the 10 Mile Bottoms. So they set up their camp on a little round knoll. I think that's like a hill. And they called this hill at that time, it's Tater Hill. Now, it's different area from the Tater Hill Road that we're aware of. So different area, but in the same 10 Mile Bottoms area. So one of the men told of sitting under a tree on the first night with his gun. So he was kind of waiting for, like, animals to come up. So they were hunting. So waiting for game to come within shooting range. So something stepped right in front of him, and it stood upright like a man, about 10 feet tall and covered with hair. Its mouth was turned up and down rather than from side to side.
What?
Okay. That's weird. And its eyes shone like two coals of fire. So it had fire eyes and a sideways mouth. I don't know. Hairy 10 feet dude. And the thing jumped up and down, then ran through the woods calling, Yahoo, Yahoo.
Somebody actually saw this?
Yeah, this is what he's saying. And he's saying it received answering calls from all over the valley. So he's saying that this hairy man beast was jumping up and down.
What's that character on Star Wars?
Chewbacca.
I think it was that. Or the thing that they hunt in the woods. We used to watch the show where they used to try to find
Sasquatch.
No. Bigfoot.
That's
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
So they're describing a Bigfoot. So they say, so after all these stories, so you've got all these stories going on. We're going to talk about Bigfoot in a minute, but as all these stories are going on, as civilization spread and you were no longer having to travel at night, now they had roads and the highway came into existence and cars. So people stopped venturing into the woods and creeks as much, and so these stories just kind of faded away after a while because no one was experiencing these things. They weren't spending as much time in the woods. Do you need to go? The stories dried up. So these stories were coming at a time when this was the only way to get to town. So what do you guys think of these stories, for one thing?
They sound made up.
Yeah, they do sound made up.
It makes me want to go over to that area.
Me too.
And, see it.
You want to stake it out? So me and your mom went over there, and it's really pretty. We stood on it. I'm going to share some footage from us. So it was raining. It was cold. It was spooky. Did we see any Sasquatch? No. But it was spooky. I mean, yeah. But yet peaceful. I don't know. Like it was really cool. So you guys would go there at night?
I kind of want to.
I want to. Yeah.
So this is 10. So maybe we should get some people together and do that.
We should.
Yeah, maybe we can find some people.
If we see somebody whose mouth is like upright, I need to take a picture of them.
An upright mouth.
It's so funny.
Well, what do you think about the angel babies?
That's so weird.
That is
I
weird.
there's the person was like hallucinating.
I mean, I have a tough time thinking that people made things up, but I do think when it's dark and you're alone, I think your imagination can run wild. What do you think? I mean,
And they could have been expecting something like that. Like they heard other stories, so they're like, "There's gonna be something creepy."
I know.
Yes,
and then just like see it.
Yes, like if you had already heard stuff was going on in these woods, like that would make it more like, okay, that's possible. So, and weird. So, now we have Kim. Kim's taking over. So the girls are busy. Ruthie's headed to work. Eden's got volleyball. So, okay. So what did you think of the stories? Now that, and having been out there. So now you've got, and speaking.
I bet it was different back then than it is now, at least, overall, but...
Because now it's even a little bit probably cleared out.
Yeah.
I mean, and you did have homes.
It's still very naturey now, but I don't know, at night, I imagine you could think you hear something or see something that's not necessarily there, and I know you could definitely hear.
Yeah.
Coyotes sound like ladies screaming. So maybe this big man, maybe those noises or something like that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that, there would be noise, all sorts of things. I don't know. It'd be weird.
It would be weird.
It'd be weird to me. I feel like it's interesting. I feel like your imagination would be playing double time.
Especially if he'd been walking all day, he might have seen something that wasn't there.
And be kind of tired and hungry.
Yes.
And I don't know. It'd be weird, for sure.
Definitely.
So so we're going to talk about Bigfoot sightings. So, for a second, because obviously this sounds... Bye. Okay, so real fast. Obviously this sounds like a Bigfoot. So there have been, in fact it said that there have been 50 reported sightings of a Bigfoot in Arkansas to date, according to the internet.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And they call the Bigfoot sightings, as far as in Arkansas, they call them the Arkansas Wild Man. And of course, we've all kind of heard the Fouke Monster, and we've already covered the Fouke Monster, and we'll probably get into more of this. And I do plan on having I do have some friend podcasters that have like cryptid podcasts. And so I do plan on a collaboration because it is said that there is a collection or kind of a hot spot, let's say, of Bigfoot sightings in Bald Knob area.
Oh, that's where I'm from.
I know. And this is so Bald Knob, how far away is Bald Knob?
10 miles.
About 10 miles. So this is very close. Mm-hmm. So I do hope to get to even go on an exploration, like if they go on a hunt, because they do hunt for the Bigfoot.
Are you talking about the hurricane bottoms?
I think so.
Hurricane.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh. Interesting. So that's a plan. But I do think it's interesting that way back in the 1800s, they do have these sightings then, and of course they're having them now. And then it's just interesting to me. I mean, I can't say for sure how I feel about Bigfoot. I'm just, I don't know. I am apt to kind of believe it. I don't know.
Maybe he's not a man, but like a big animal that walks like a man.
Something. So I'm kind of a Bigfoot. I'm intrigued, I guess. So I just think that's interesting. But stay tuned for that, guys. So that's going to be, Of interest. Okay, so for more, this is kind of getting into some other stories in that area. So there's some others. So for more than a century, men have searched for fabulous silver deposits along the rock ledges overlooking 10 Mile Creek. It's stated 16 miles north of Judsonia, around the Highway 157, which we saw that today. It crosses over the creek in the area of Steprock. This is where a lot of people have evidently spent a lot of time looking for silver. So it's said, and this was according to this online Arkansas Diggers article, it is said that the Osage Indians worked with silver. People thought, okay, where did this silver come from? Where was there a silver deposit? These were the questions that people had, and the consensus with the people or opinion was that large quantities of silver would one day be found along the bluffs that bordered the 10 Mile Creek. So the prospect of it drew out-of-state interest, hastening the day of discovery. Okay, so perhaps one day someone will be the lucky person that finds the Osage silver. This is a story that's talked about.
That's not happened, right?
No.
Okay.
And I did look up. So the Osage actually worked evidently with lead, which I don't know what lead looks like in natural, but maybe it looked like silver to people, or people thought that the Osage had silver. But I did look up to see if the Osage actually had silver, and it said no, that they didn't. But that was the story, that the Osage had worked with silver, and people thought that there would be this awesome amount of silver. So a lot of people hunted for silver in that area. So that was another kind of interesting tidbit on that. So I do have some more information. I did get the area from Scott. I have a friend, Scott, that works with the White County Historical Society. So he was very kind to kind of tell me geologically about the area in more of a physical description. So he was able to kind of outline and map out, which I will share these maps about the actual area of 10 Mile Creek, which is very interesting. So I do have a friend, Chelsea. So she grew up in this 10 Mile Creek area. So I'm going to tell you about her experiences and what she was told growing up. And this was kind of passed down because her dad grew up in the area, and then this was passed down from her dad. So her dad stated that there were stories of people looking for gold, or not just gold, but silver. And he said that what he was told was the Osage Indians used to work in silver in the area, and the white people spent their lives trying to find where the silver was coming from. So evidently when European settlers they were thinking that whatever the Osage were doing was with silver. So then they were looking for the silver. So that's aligning with the story I found online. She did go back. Chelsea questioned her dad about it. He just mentioned that there was other stories. So evidently during the Civil War, there were allegedly Confederates that hid a wagon full of gold in a cave along this area, kind of somewhere near the creek. And then they blew up the entrance so the Union soldiers couldn't find it. So that was another story. And so the gold kind of aligns with people were looking for gold that maybe was hidden, during that. So
I had no idea.
Have you ever heard
That's
these
true.
things?
None of this. None of it.
Isn't that
Should
interesting?
it be found by now?
You would think, but all of that, I will say, all of that area seems very rocky,
Yes.
very solid.
So it would be hard to get to it if it really was buried.
But if it's in a cave,
yeah, there's equipment you can use.
no. So what kind of equipment could find this?
Big old digging thing.
That's awesome. But
Is there a wood? The beach things, like that's probably not strong enough.
Oh, like the metal detectors.
Yes.
I don't know. And do the metal detectors detect on gold? Because it is a metal, huh? I don't know.
But you think now with the
Dial us in on that.
there should be something they could do.
Well, I know that they're, okay, so when they're looking for, like, in cases of true crime and such, like, they do have those ground penetration, like, radar.
Yes.
So that would be something. And I know that my dad watches all of those shows, like Gold Rush shows.
Yeah, my dad did too.
I wonder, I don't know. So this is very interesting, people. So I'm not saying to go out and look for silver and gold in the 10 Mile Creek area, but maybe you should if you own land along the area.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I wonder if many people know about it.
I know. I have never heard anything about this. Quite honestly, I just had Googled supernatural stories in White County, and this popped up because there is a little bit of those stories that came about in, like, the Three Rivers newspaper. And so I will be linking all of my references like I do, guys. But yeah, so that was all the stories in that area. But there was a lot. I mean, there was everything from a little bit of ghost stories, a little bit of the Bigfoot, and then some hidden treasure.
Pretty popular place.
It is, but it's interesting how these stories pop up.
Right.
And so, yeah, but I would love to hear about, I searched for 4 hours on more information, at the library online, and even, the Harding University has, like, an archive of the White County Historical Society information. So there wasn't any more information that I found online or at the library about this. Not to say there's not something more out there, but if anyone has some personal stories of their families that have, searched or have heard, and any Bigfoot, stories, we'd love to hear them. But that's, yeah.
And there's not a lot of houses out there either, so, I mean.
Yeah, it's like there would be, like, some beautiful houses,
Oh, yeah.
but they were pretty spaced apart. So we actually went and viewed the creek at Highway 157, and then we also viewed the creek, there was another part. It's Fisher Hill Road, further out, but that was where we could really pull over and get out of the car.
There was no traffic, and it turned into a dirt road.
And it was super cool.
Very, very quiet.
Yeah. A little desolate.
Yes.
But there was a really pretty house on the hill.
Yes, overlooking.
So this was a fun episode for me because I've been bogged down with, death. So guys, this is a palate cleansing episode, just a fun episode. Next week's episode is going to be equally fun. It's just going to be called the Bruno, Arkansas Abandoned City. I don't even know yet. So I'm investigating that next week. But then I am getting ready for the Christmas kit, and that's going to be deadly and serious and very heavy for Christmas. So Merry Christmas. So that will be coming. So we're 43 minutes in. So yay! Thank you, Kim, for being here.
And sorry about the girls. That's kind of sad that they didn't know a lot of that.
They're taught about these things. It's just not retained.
I think they learn it to get through it, and then it's gone.
Yes, but it's interesting that you're. When I asked them about when cars happen, and she's like, "Well, I think my dad had one."
Yes.
Like your dad.
Sorry, Travis.
Travis was born in the 70s, right? Yeah. Come on. So the first car was delivered in the state in 1900. So
yeah.
But when you're 16 years old and you were born in the 2000s,
you don't think about that. You don't think about any of that.
I mean, that is over 100 years old.
It is. I didn't even know that though about the car.
But I will say I did find that the first cars were actually, I guess, being, driven and patents in like the late 1800s.
Just not around here, I guess.
Yeah, we didn't get into cars that early. But we're talking, we also did not at that time have, indoor plumbing wasn't common, electrical, ooh.
So to them, I guess that does seem like forever ago.
Because it's old to us, but we were actually born in the 1900s.
Yes.
That hurts to say.
Me longer than you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just a little bit. But yeah, we were both born in the 1900s.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she's asked if we've had electricity like back
Oh
then.
my
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
Anyway,
wow.
yeah.
She really thinks we're old.
Yes, she does.
She's like, you guys are old.
One
But,
day.
yeah, one day they're going to know what old is. One day. We all get to experience it. So
Yes.
so thank you for being
Yes.
on here with me. So
Thank
we're gonna wrap this up, and so yeah, just follow me on all the things. Please send me more things to cover, and hopefully, I really enjoyed having the girls. They were hilarious.
Oh, they were fun.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. And next week will be a different guest host and a different. Well, it's probably a little bit of a paranormal episode, but then we're gonna dive into more murder and fun. Not fun stuff, but that kind of thing. So stay tuned. Bye.
Bye.
Love ya.